So we are live at Crossroad Q's. This is On the Move with Eddie P. To say that I'm excited would be a massive, massive understatement. I am sitting with by far one of the greatest, and some believe to be the greatest pool player to ever live. None other than Mr. Earl Strickland himself. Earl, the Pearl Strickland. You know, we could sit here and mention titles and some of your accolades, and we would run out of time with the show, but just to mention a few things for those of you that may have been living under a rock, or maybe you're new to the world of pool. Earl is one of only 2 people on the entire planet that has won the U.S. Open 9-ball 5 times. He's a multiple-time world champion, and I just learned last night, 9-time Mosconi Cup winner. Is that right?
Yeah, 9 times, yeah.
Earl, I have to ask you, in your personal opinion, are champions born or are they made?
Well, in every sport, the greatest players are born with their ability, and then they have to pursue it. And certainly there are a lot of hard workers involved in each sport too, but the greatest players are born to play whatever they're playing.
Could you give us just a little bit of background? I know people have gotten bits and pieces of your personal story, but if we could just jump in a time machine just for a moment and take us back to the beginning of how it all started for you.
The way I learned how to play pool is impossible. It couldn't be duplicated again. Kids today are prodigies, you know. They're not. I'm self-made. There's a big difference, you know, kind of like Lee Trevino or something like that, you know. No one took me by the hand and showed me everything, you know. I had to go through a lot of hard knocks and learn it on my own, you know. But that's the way it was for me, and I don't think anyone's ever going to learn to play pool the way I did, you know. Just left home when I was like 14, ran away for pool. I love pool so much. You know, I would leave home for it, leave my mom and father for it. I would beg, borrow, or steal for pool. You know, I loved it that much. You know, and I guess from the time I was a young kid, I knew that I was always going to play pool. I wasn't going to do anything else.
Were you always a super competitor even before you hit that first pool ball? Because needless to say, obviously anybody that's ever watched you play or followed your career the way I have, and I want you to know first of all that it is a great privilege for me to sit here with you. You know, we were talking a little bit off camera about, you know, my son who loves basketball and Michael Jordan and some of the greats that he follows, and I grew up in pool, and you were and still are one of my childhood heroes, you know, and there's undeniably a winning force inside of you besides all your natural ability. So I have to ask you, were you a very competitive person as a child before you hit that first ball?
Well, I tried to be. I tried to play baseball. I was stunk at that. I stunk at basketball. I didn't even like exercising when I was a kid. I was kind of frail and lazy, you know. I grew up on a farm. I harvested a lot of crops. I hated that too.
Okay.
I didn't like working at all. But of course, if we all had a choice, we wouldn't work, I'm sure.
That's right.
We could all, you know, had plenty of money and didn't have to work, we'd all be happy.
But what's the old saying? If you do something that you love and you do something that you have passion for, you never have to go to work another day in your life. Not that you don't have to work at it, you know what I mean?
I only became very competitive when I learned how to play pool.
Okay.
That's where my competitiveness came from. I didn't have it before I learned how to play pool, I don't think. And I loved to fish and hunt, and I had a good childhood, you know, growing up on a farm, harvesting tobacco. We were tobacco farmers, and cotton, soybean, corn, and all kinds of vegetables. We grew all kinds of vegetables. And there was a river down there, you know, about a mile away. I stayed on the river. I probably spent most of my childhood on that river, just looking for frogs and turtles. I loved insects and turtles and animals and fish and birds and I amazed my girlfriend when we're playing tennis. We'll hear a bird in a tree, and she'll say, "What kind of bird is that?" And I'll say, "It's a house wren."
That's incredible.
Yeah. Then another bird will come along and she'll say, "What is that?" I said, "That's a woodpecker, red-headed flicker woodpecker." And then another bird will come along And she'll say, what is that? And I'll say, that's a downy woodpecker. And they're very friendly. They're one of the most friendly birds. Another bird will come along, it's a catbird, a wood thrush, or whatever, you know. I know the sounds of all of them because I stayed in the woods listening to them all the time, hunting and fishing.
You still enjoy the outdoors a lot now?
No, I don't hunt and fish anymore. I wouldn't kill a bug right now anymore.
Well, you killed plenty of people on that pool table.
Yeah. After all that,
Yeah.
I was programmed to seek and destroy and destroy pool players. You're right. That was my main objective. It still is.
Right.
But my main objective, I was taught to beat pool players till they wanted to quit and never play again.
Okay.
I wanted to make pool players never play again. I wanted them to say, well, once they ran into me, there's no sense for them to play anymore because they're not going to go as good as me, you know. But pool's a great game, and like I said, you know, I spent a lot of time fishing and hunting, and I was playing pool at the same time. I started when I was about 9, and by the time I was 14, I was done with the fishing and the hunting, and it was all pool. Pool had totally consumed me.
Where did that bug first bite you, per se? That pool bug, the one that you never did get rid of when it first bit you? And
about 12, it was over.
What's the first thing you've seen? Because obviously we didn't have streams.
At 12 years old, I was totally consumed.
Okay.
And was never going to look back. It was pool all the way. I quit a couple of times, got a job or two, but couldn't stand it. Right back to pool. I quit the job and go right back to pool. Just something about it, you know, it consumes you.
Were there people back then that contributed, I'm talking fundamentally wise, to your game? I mean, as far as, you know, people that showed you a little bit of this or a little bit of that just to get you a base that you ran with?
No one ever showed me anything. I stole my information.
Where did it come from?
I would watch players play, and I would steal their characteristics, the way they played, their bridges, how far they held the cue back, how their feet were. I would study players and steal little bits and pieces of information to implement into my game. And what you come out with is your own way of playing. You steal little things, but you don't wound up like them. Not if you're going to be great. You'll create your own style eventually. Like Efren, he's a good example. No one makes a figure 8 with the stroke like Efren, you know.
I love it that sitting down doing an interview about you that you bring him up, because I'd be willing to bet anything in the world if we sat down with Efren, he would bring you up as well, because you guys had so many incredible battles.
Well, you know, we're two different players, you know. I beat Efren with offense.
Yeah.
That was the only way I could beat him, you know. I had a little better break than him. And I was a little bit better shot maker at times in tough situations. And but if the match was close, I usually would lose because he could outwit me, you know. And he had incredible nerves, you know. People don't realize what kind of nerves you got to have to play pool. It's incredible. It's better than a surgeon.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time that you guys bumped into each other? I'm sure he'd heard about you, you'd heard about him, but what was the first collision?
He beat me the first time I played him.
Yeah.
It was in Houston, Texas, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I think we played in Houston. He beat me, and he won the tournament. He beat Wade Crane in the finals.
The guy with that monster break,
right? He was under an alias name. He wasn't even using his real name. It was
Cesar Morales, right?
Morales.
Yeah.
And, but you could tell the guy was going to make a mark for himself, you know? I mean, just a guy walks in out of the blue, nobody knows him, and he goes through the toughest field in America. You know, that's not luck.
Yeah.
You know, it happens once in a while. You have these one-hit wonders, you know. But he was more than a one-hit wonder, that's for sure. After he beat Wade Crane, said it was the best player he ever seen. And I gambled with Wade many times. And
what a break that guy had.
Yeah, he had. I was playing him one time with a big money match down in South Carolina. He broke and made 8 balls on the break.
Oh my gosh.
He was incredible break. He had
I've heard of them matching him up with people before, where like they'd make this crazy game where Wade would get to break for the other player and then they'd gamble. You know what I mean?
I'd love to play
right.
with him breaking for me. I'd look like the best player that ever lived if he was breaking for me and I was shooting. And I was a little bit better shot maker than Wade too. I beat him gambling quite a few times. But I think it was because of my ability to shoot. A lot of people think I'm the best player that ever lived, but that's not what I think. My greatest asset was shooting. I probably was one of the best shooters that ever lived. Period.
You shot at a lot of shots other people.
And I'll tell you where I made a lot of great shots is off the end rail jacked up. With the cue jacked up in the air, like 30, 40 degrees. Where the shots are very difficult because when you jack the cue up, we all know the shots get harder. The closer the ball gets to the rail, the shots get harder. I made many tough shots jacked up on the rail. I just don't see nobody ever making as many tough shots as I made. Maybe Shane. I still don't think he can duplicate me in spots, I'll tell you that.
Well, a lot of people have said numerous times if they could have one person shoot that last final ball, it would be you. I'm sure you've heard that before because you made so many of those shots.
Well, I was telling Shane, I was playing Shane one night on a 5x10 over there in Steinway in New York City. And I made this crazy great shot. And I looked at him and I said, the only guy that can outshoot me is me. And he laughed. I loved it. It was the funniest thing in the world when he started laughing. But, like I said, my break wasn't as good as Shane's, and my safeties weren't as good as Efren's, or my kicking wasn't as good as Efren's, but I learned a lot of good safeties from Efren. I'm a good safety player. If you play me, you'll see my safeties are pretty good. If I'm playing good, you'll be jumping a lot. That jump stick ruined me and Efren, but my ability to shoot, I'm never going to say I was a bad shooter. I was a great shooter.
But it kind of goes back to what you said originally when I asked you about, in the beginning, the evolution of your game, you were talking about, watching people, observing people. So essentially, when you began to play with Efren, your game evolved just like everybody else with those safeties, the way he moved, right, the kicks.
He made me a stronger player because he taught me how to taught me a lot about the defense. And a little kicking. I learned a lot about kicking from him too. But I still say one of my greatest assets too are bridges. Bridges. I had great bridges. Bustamonte's got the greatest hands I ever saw. He's like double jointed in his fingers and stuff. He can bend his finger backwards almost, to touch his wrist. Looks like his fingers look like they're made out of rubber or something. He could bend them so weird, like.
He was scary too, wasn't he?
At times I thought he was better than Efren. He beat me silly for a long time. He beat me all over the world. Beat me on 4 continents, I'll bet.
Yeah, one of my friends that's a pro that played when you guys were playing on that Camel Pro Tour, he says, when you lined up with Bustamante, he was like frightening. He was so intimidating the way he played.
Well, he had a great break.
Yeah.
It's hard to overcome his break. And then he knew how to play too. So if you take a player that's got a great break and they know how to play too, that's a dangerous player. Shane has those qualities. Efren was missing the break, If Efren would have had a great break, it would have been a curtains for all of us.
So I got to ask you, back when you were into that gambling scene, when you were young, and I know you don't support that stuff now. I've heard you speak about that before.
I think it's disgusting. It ruins the image. You keep gambling, you'll keep the image alive.
I agree with you 100%. But way back when, before you became a tournament player,
I was a tourist gambler.
How long were they able to keep you undercover? That's my question.
Well, the code of the road was don't play tournaments because you'll give yourself away. Okay. That was number one from the beginning. Okay. That's what I was taught. All right. I didn't play. I played one tournament. I played a North Carolina State Championship in 1975, I want to say, or 76. And I finished third in the tournament. Amazingly, I was a good tournament player and didn't know it. And I never played another tournament until, I think 5 or 6 years later. I was about 19 or 20.
I believe your first big win was the Akron Open, wasn't it?
That was my first win. Or no, maybe was it? I don't know if it was Dayton.
Dayton, I'm sorry, not Akron.
Dayton was the first
Okay.
win. But going back to Dakota Road, don't play tournaments. Give yourself away. You got to keep your name out of the billiards news. You know what I mean? So that people can't find out who you are. You know, and you can sneak up and beat people all the time, sneak around the country. But then when I played the first tournament, I played a qualifier in Houston for a giant tournament in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And I played the qualifier and I won it. And then after I won the tournament, everybody stood up and clapped.
That's the one where you jumped, wasn't it, against Mizrak with the full cue?
No.
That was later.
Yeah, that was that was later.
With the tan cloth, right? I remember that match. Right.
But when everybody stood up and clapped, I had never felt anything like that. Because in gambling, there's no accolades.
That's that rush that would fuel you.
There's no accolades in gambling.
Yeah.
You understand? It's hardcore. It's you know, kind of you're a hard kind of a person. You know, you don't have accolades. You know, you don't shake hands when you finish gambling. You know what I mean? You don't say good shooting. You don't do that kind of things when you gamble. You tell a guy, you got lucky or you got this. You'll kind of like insult them or something instead of saying, oh, you're a good player and good shooting, shake your hand. They don't do that in gambling.
Not to mention it was pretty darn dangerous back in the day too, right? Obviously.
But when they stood up and cheered like that,
Yeah.
I felt a different feeling, and that's when I realized that maybe I need a change. I was 19 years old at the time. I'd burned up the whole country gambling. Seen some bad times, a lot of good times. It's tough. Gambling's a tough life.
Now, one thing I was curious about, back in that time when you were gambling, you were undercover before the tournaments, were there some extremely good known players that you actually locked horns with and took out for the money back then, or did you stay clear of those guys so that you could stay undercover?
Yeah, if you weren't good enough, you ran into guys that could beat you, and you had a line on them.
Yeah.
You would avoid him, or you would run into a guy and you didn't know him, and he beat you.
Play like King
And
Kong,
then
huh?
you would avoid him when you saw him again, you know.
Yeah.
Or unless, of course, guys would beat me at 14, and then they would see me 5 years later or 4 years later, and I'm 18, and you got no chance.
Yeah.
See, I'm all grown up now a little bit. Like, I remember Norfolk Charlie, he was a beauty. Norfolk Charlie, I don't know if anybody out there knows Norfolk Charlie. He was a bar table player mostly. From Norfolk, Virginia, obviously. But I played him in South Carolina when I was like 14 or 13. I was about maybe 12 or something like that. I'd wander off a little bit when I was younger, you know, another state or two.
Yeah.
Not too far, and then come home, you know. But I played this Norfolk Charlie, he beat me on the bar table, right? So, 4 years later, I'm about 18, and I'm in San Antonio, Texas, on the road, and I walk in a pool room, and there he is, Norfolk Charlie. So, I snuck up to him, and I said, Charlie, how you doing? He said, all right. He says, you want to play something? I said, Charlie, it's me, Earl. You remember me down in South Carolina? He says, yeah, I remember you. I said, Charlie, you can't beat me now. I was trying to be nice to him.
You told him.
Because he was a little older gentleman,
Yeah.
you know. And I was trying to spare him, you know, or pardon him or whatever, you know. But he still thought he could beat me.
Showing a little mercy,
Because
if you will.
He robbed me when I was a little kid, you know. So I said,
Somebody's growing up now.
I said, Charlie, my game's a little different now. I don't want to play you. He says, no, I'll play you some 30 a game. I says, look, Charlie, I'm telling you right now, you don't want to play me. He says, I'm not scared of you. I says, you should be. I'm not the same guy no more. And I just robbed him. I gave him out like $800. He's sitting there going like shaking his head like that. And I walked up to him and I told you, I said, Charlie, I ain't the same guy. I ain't this little kid in South Carolina you robbed on the bar table. I'm dangerous.
But
right
you
now.
warned him. That shows
Yeah.
your integrity, though.
I tried to tell him that he couldn't win, but He forced me to take his money, so I took it.
Yeah. But you showed him though, because you really didn't like that aspect of the game.
I had sympathy for people.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I wasn't the type of person that would take advantage of something.
You ever bust somebody and hand them what they call a walking stick?
Yeah, you did that. That walking stick was mandatory a lot of times.
I didn't know what that was
I'd
until
beat
recently.
guys out of their cars and queues and give them back to them. I beat a guy out of a hair salon and gave it back to him. And an Eldorado, brand new Eldorado Cadillac, 1974 Cadillac. I beat a guy. I was like 15 years old or something, and it was a 76, like a 76 brand new Eldorado Cadillac. This guy, I walked in this bar in Houston, Texas, me and my brother, and there was a guy playing on the front table, the bar table. And I said, "You want to play some?" He says, "Yeah." So I beat him out of $3,000 cash, and he says, "I don't have any more money." And it's like, I think it was a Sunday or something, and they couldn't get no money. It was the banks closed and stuff. And he says, "Will you take an IOU?" And I says, "No, I can't do that." And the bartender, he looked at the bartender, he says, "Tell this kid that I'm good for the money." He says, "Yeah, he owns the hair salon next door." I says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'll play on the IOU then." So I beat the guy like $50,000, right? Something ridiculous. I can't remember how much. It was a lot. Enough to cover his salon and an Eldorado Cadillac, because once I realized he didn't have the money, me and my brother wanted to break his legs. He wasn't as nice as me.
So was your brother running around with you at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
My brother was ruthless. Because what happened was he didn't have the money. So I went in one day, and we went there one day, me and my brother. We kept downing him a little to try to get some of the money out of him. So he didn't want to pay nothing. So one day we caught him coming out and getting in his Cadillac. So my brother walks up to him. He's a little older than me, my brother. He says, "Look, you're going to pay." And he says, "You're going to give us this salon or this car or something." So my brother says, "Just sign it all over." So now the guy says, "Okay." He's going to sign over the hair salon and the Cadillac to us, right? So I was getting ready to sign it, right? He starts crying. Just crying like a little baby, snot running out of his nose. And I said, "Damn, he's in bad shape now." My brother looked at him and said, "Quit crying. I'm going to ask somebody to come over here and break your legs." My brother wasn't as nice as me. So I looked at him. I says, "All right, Ray, leave him alone. We're going to let him go." So I looked at him. I says, I don't want your money. I don't want your salon. I don't want your car. I says, "But there are people like me, kid wonders, I says, you got to watch out for them. They're coming." And now they're here now,
Yeah.
But I was the first of my kind, the kid wonder and pool. I was one of them. Mosconi was one too. And Earl. So, but that was a hell of a story there.
It is, and the thing about it is 50,000 back then might as well have been $50 million.
It was a lot of money.
It was a tremendous amount. So, as you were beginning to win these tournaments, you mentioned earlier that something happened, something transpired that you didn't get gambling because you're not making any friends gambling, especially when you're taking people's money or Cadillacs or giving them back or whatever the case. It takes away a man's ego, it takes away his pride. You're not making any friends, but when you won that first big tournament, you recall people starting to clap for you.
Yeah, I felt a different atmosphere.
Okay.
So I says maybe I should start playing a few more tournaments and see what it's like. And because my gambling career was almost over, I burned myself up from from the time, what was that, 7 years, 12. I was from 12 to 19. I burned up the whole country.
You had to be doing pretty good financially for a teenager, though, right?
Yeah, but in gambling, you one day you're rich, one day you're poor.
Yeah.
It's just there's no future in it, really.
Now, what's the family thinking back then? By the way, you're going back to Carolina. You had to be driving some pretty good rides at that point, and you're wearing some good clothes, right?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't care. As I got
Right.
a little older, I started trying to dress a little better.
Yeah.
And cars didn't mean as much to me, just enough to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Just to I didn't really care about fancy cars at the time. That came later in my life. But yeah, you burn yourself up. Then the action, I wasn't getting as much action as I first was and then I was having to give up weight, because everybody's got a line on you now. They know what your game's like. You can't sneak up on people anymore.
Now, was Houston your hub back then, where you would?
It was then.
Yeah.
From about 15 until 19. For about 4 years, Houston was
tremendous amount of action.
I learned a lot too because it's a bigger city, more players,
a lot of money.
Playing for more money. Playing for I was playing $600 a game, $1,000 a game at times.
Wow.
Used to play a guy named Nana in Houston. Used to give him the 7-ball or something like that, or a 6. He was a pretty good player. We'd play like 600, 700, 800 a game. It was a good bet. They ain't playing that much now. But I could see the gambling was getting old, and it was time for a change. So I started venturing into a few tournaments.
That had to give you nerves of steel, though, for when you were winning all those finals, going back into those matches, playing for 600 or 1,000 a game. Even though it's a different kind of an atmosphere, that really built up your nerves, I would think.
When I first got into tournaments, I realized it was harder. It's harder to play tournaments than it is to gamble. Money is longer than a race to 11, or a race to a 9, or a race to 7. And then the one thing I didn't like, when I first started playing tournaments, when a guy would beat me, I'd look at him and say, "You got the 6-ball. You want to play some for, 200 or 300 a game?
Yeah.
I'll give you the 6-ball.
Yeah.
And the guy wouldn't say a word, just walk away. I could stand there and bark all day. The guy would just put his cue back in his case and walk away. They would say nothing. Because tournament players didn't gamble much, they're a different breed of player. And that got old, trying to taunt the guy into gambling with me after he beats me, So I realized that there was more pressure in tournaments, and you had to get the jump on them. It was good to front run. You had to learn how to front run, and you had to cut down on mistakes. You had to play more cautious, because tournament, you don't have it so long to prove yourself. It ain't like gambling. You could have days to prove yourself, Money's longer than a race to 7, you know what I mean?
I always wondered, what was your posture or your routine? For instance, if you go into like the U.S. Open, are you staying away from other people, going to the room after each match?
I was very secluded when I first started winning tournaments, and when I started getting good at it and winning them, I secluded myself. I became very much a loner. Yeah, I still was social when I'd walk into the tournament room, but I didn't hang around much. I didn't like hanging around.
What was your practice routine like back then? I always pictured you, maybe perhaps before you'd leave for a tournament, were you in your home, like your home table for hours every single day, dialing in?
But every time I go before a tournament, it was full-blown practice, 8 hours a day.
They say Shane's that way too, right?
Religiously, just 8 hours a day. He ain't playing like that anymore, though.
Yeah, but he was, though, right?
He's fishing now.
Well, you're golfing too, right?
Yeah. But I still play 5-6 hours a day. I probably play more pool than Shane now.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, because you love it.
But I do.
Yeah.
I love pool. I still think I love pool more than Shane. Shane's got to find his love again.
Yeah.
Or he's gonna fade away. But going back to, what was I just talking?
We were talking about the routine or the posture or the let's say the practice regimen going into a tournament.
I would practice religiously before I went to an event, and I used to love to sit in the tournament. I mean, when I was at my best, about my 20s somewhere, when we would have a hotel tournament, we would be in a hotel room. The tournament would be in a hotel with us, I would sit in my room and wait. You had 15 minutes before you forfeit, right? I would wait till 10 minutes. It looks like I'm going to forfeit, right? So the guy I'm playing is sitting there going, well, he ain't going to show up.
Uh-oh.
Right? And I would wait till the last few minutes, and I would dash into the tournament room and rob the guy.
Yeah. Getting in their head.
I love doing that.
Getting in their head ahead of the match.
That was one of my favorite things to do. To make the guy think that I ain't going to show up. I just come in and barbecue him. Because I knew I was going to win because I was playing that well at the time, you know. And
the formats were a lot different then, right? I mean, you have to like back then. Winter breaks is a world difference than this alternate break stuff.
Well,
right?
we were playing a few different rules back then.
Yeah.
Let me explain. If you broke and scratched and made 2 balls on the break, they spotted up.
Wow.
And if you broke and scratched and didn't make nothing, you had to shoot from behind the line. There was no ball in hand after the break. You know what I mean? There's ball in hand during the game. You commit a foul. But not after the break. You had to put the ball behind the head string.
Yeah.
They need to go back to that rule.
Yeah.
They really do. Because it's imperative. The scratch is an unfortunate shot, you know. Everybody can scratch, you know. You can get kicked in or scratch straight in the hole or jump the table. You know, it's just an element of chance, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very penal back then because we would put the ball. You had to shoot behind the line. Now, if the one, you know, wound up in a precarious position, you'd have to play safe. And if you made 2 balls, 3 balls on the break and scratched, they spot up, you'd have to play safe.
Yeah.
You were still alive for that game.
It's a big difference. Big difference.
Big difference. Now it's like there's too much luck. You know, they don't have to play as hard to beat you. They got jump sticks. If you make 4 balls on the break, they're all stay down and you scratch, they're going to run 5 balls off. Who can't? The players today, who can't run 5 balls?
Earl, what's the biggest difference if you look at people from your era or before, let's say, the Mosconis, the other greats, and then the people from your era compared to these players right now? People have referred to a lot of the guys as robots, right? The difference in the styles. What are the main differences in your opinion? The way the game is played.
Well, they all gotta have a magic rack.
Okay.
They all gotta have a jump stick.
Okay.
And they all walk around like they're the most important people in the world.
So the attitudes are different.
They need I still say that we should be playing the game that Dennis and I played last night, the offensive straight pull. You got 24 seconds to shoot, just like the NBA. That's a perfect amount of time. There's no defense. It's total offense. You're not playing the player anymore. You're playing the table. What's wrong with pull is you're allowing just jump sticks and luck and all this stuff and magic racks are deciding the matches.
9 on the spot.
9's on the spot. If you date back to 1984, say just a number, we're probably making 5 times more balls in their break in '84 than they are now. They're only making one on the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you calculate all the pool balls made in 1 year on tour versus 1984, 1984 will shatter today's.
But you guys were smashing balls back then.
Making 2, 3 balls on the break, you know, 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And Wade Crane was making 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But if you look at the record today on balls on the break, I mean, they're just not making it near. The only one they can make is the one on the side. They can't hardly make nothing else. Once in a while, one will click on the bottom rail and go in the corner.
Yeah.
Once in a while, they'll get the corner ball to go in. I still don't know how they make the corner ball with the 9 on the spot. I still haven't figured it out.
How strong is that, right?
I can't do it myself. But they're not making many balls on the break. And it's a gimmick the way they got it set up. It ain't as we were going. When we walked in the tournament room, we had both guns drawn. You know what I mean? It ain't like that now. These guys are. It's too. Everything's calculated. You know.
Do you like the direction of pool right now?
No.
In general.
I said they need to go to offensive straight pull. 24 seconds to shoot. You can only run 42 balls at a time, and then you stop, and the other player runs 42. That's 1 inning. Play 5 innings. It's about a 200-point match. Or you could play a shorter version, play 4 innings. That lasts about an hour and 45 minutes, okay? A 4-inning match. So we need to play in a manner to where you're playing against the table and not the player. You know what I mean?
You know who else told me the same exact thing? He sat in that same chair. Is Rodney Morris. He says they need an all offense game, and he's worked on one as well. The development of it. He said the same.
Yeah,
thing.
but this has too many rules.
Yeah.
I like Rodney, and I think
yeah.
his Saratoga game is that what it's called or something like that?
It's the Rodney Runout, I believe is what it's called. but
it's got too many rules.
Yeah. The only thing that I've seen similar to what you were saying though is he says that in order to get more people involved, it's got to be all offense. It's got to be where you're playing the.
Well, he might have heard me say that, preaching that too.
Okay.
And stole a little bit of that from me too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, but it shouldn't be his game. It should be straight pull.
Gotcha.
You elect your break ball. You lag for the break just like a regular pull match. You elect your break. There's hash marks around the rack. They're all break balls. You know what I mean? The little hash marks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's about 4, 8, 12 of them maybe. 12 hash marks around the rack. Little hash mark on the cloth.
Okay.
Okay, you win the lag, you select your break ball. Okay? Referee spots your break ball. You maneuver the first break shot with your cue or hand, whatever. I'd prefer you just maneuver it with the cue. I want to get it where the players don't ever touch the pool balls again.
I see.
I don't think the players should be allowed to touch the pool balls. You know what I mean? So then you break them, you run 42. I stop. I sit down. My opponent gets up. He elects his break ball. He runs 42. Okay? You go to the second inning. I run 42. He runs 42. We're tied at 84. Okay? I run 30 and miss. Okay? I take ball in hand. I clean up the other 12. I got 1 miss. Okay? I ran 98 balls last night before I missed.
Last night?
Yeah.
And you and Dennis Hatch, who've been traveling around the country again together?
I ran 98, and I missed the break ball. That's why I finally missed.
How long did it take you to run those 98 balls, by the way?
I was surprised it took a little longer. The match lasted, we only played 3 innings, and it lasted an hour and a half.
That's pretty strong, though.
I was surprised. 3 innings, a perfect match, 3 innings, 126 balls.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we went to last night. I had 124. He had 120. What did he miss? 3? He had 123 and I had 124.
Pretty close.
Yeah, he lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that ain't a good match.
That is a good match.
Huh?
That is a good match.
And he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He told me he thoroughly enjoyed that match. The one thing that sticks out more than anything is he wasn't mad.
I see.
Do you understand what I just said?
I do. Yeah.
He wasn't mad. And I think if I would have lost, I wouldn't have been mad either.
Because you got a chance to shoot so much, just like everybody does.
You had a chance.
Yeah, it's fair.
You had your chances.
It's fair.
There are some, rolls here and there hitting the rack. You're never going to get rid of all the little breaks and pull. Okay?
Yeah.
The little lucky rolls, But I've narrowed it down with this format, with this game. I've narrowed it down the best I can. Give each player a best chance. And there's pressure on you with that 24-second shot clock. Playing straight pull with 24-second shot clock is a lot of pressure. Believe me. I'm telling you. Because straight pull ain't the kind of game where you can just run around all the time and just not think, You got to think a lot in that game. But it was enough time. We did it. It was entertaining. The people loved it. And it was something different.
Now, you've probably never had a problem with the shot clock, especially in 9
I've averaged 6 seconds my entire life.
6 seconds per shot.
Yeah.
And they do the shot clock.
I ran 480 balls. I averaged 6 seconds a shot.
6 seconds.
A 480 ball run. Averaged 6 seconds a shot.
That's amazing.
It took me 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's quick.
That is amazing.
So, but like I said before, you got to make the game where you're playing the table, not the player. That's the key.
Yeah. Earl, what is your greatest, most memorable win in your opinion, and your most, let's say, your greatest setback? So the greatest win, greatest setback out of all those tournaments.
I still say one of my greatest wins ever was in Cardiff when I beat Bustamante. And everybody was heckling me and sharking me. They were treating me like I was a disease. At one time I had my head between my knees. I wanted to cry. I wanted to get up and leave.
I don't remember the match. Were you down real far?
I was behind the whole match, and they were heckling me the whole time, calling me names. And I pulled that win out.
Do you recall
every shot that I'd ever practiced come up, you know?
You recall what you were down at one point during that match?
Yeah, he had me 3-0.
Yeah.
6-3, 9-6, 12-9, 15. He had me 15-12. That's yeah.
15-12.
15-12, and that's where it ended for him. He broke and scratched.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
But they were sitting there heckling you the whole time.
No, wait a minute. I cut into it one game. I was 15-13. Yeah,
but they were sharking you, heckling you?
I cut into the 3-game deficit by one by then. He had me 15-13. And I was sitting there and I said, my only chance is he scratches on the break.
Uh-oh.
And I had just figured out how to break. I'd been breaking bad the whole match. That's really what was keeping me behind. But he's got a great break. Bustamante. I can't match his break. But
have you all always gotten along pretty good over the years?
Yeah, you know, every pool player has their moments, you know.
What I like, and I think...
But let me go back to that match. 15-13, he broke and scratched. And I said, this is it. If I don't take the match now, I'm not going to win. And I took it. He never pocketed another ball. I beat him 17-15. And every shot I'd ever practiced my whole life came up in those 4 games.
Now that's truly amazing.
It did. Every shot, every hard shot that I made a shot in that would bring tears to your eyeballs, I'll tell you. And I didn't think I could pull it off, but I did. I wanted to play safe so bad on the shot, and I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because, you know, Francisco was a great kicker. He could kick out of anything. You know, those guys are great kickers. But I had the shot. I said, nah, make the ball, man. Get out. I says, don't give this guy another chance. And I did. That was my greatest win ever, because I was being heckled the whole time, too.
Was that for a world title?
Yeah, it was in Cardiff. It was 2002, the last world title I won. There's only been 2 people since then won it, Shane and me.
How many world titles do you hold?
3 WPA, and then 3 other 2 Brunswick World Tournaments and 1 Pro Billiards World Tournament.
That was big because you were down, and
but that was a great match when I beat Efren there. But anyway, going back to that match, and then my biggest letdown was at the World Tournament in straight pull playing Mika Eminen. And there again I was being heckled and picked on, and I gave up. Literally, I just said, you just go ahead and win. You guys don't care about me, the way you treat me. I wish I had never done that. I could have beat him. He had me 160 to like 30 something, right? And he missed. And I looked at my girlfriend, and I hadn't even been trying, right? I said, watch this, I'm going to try. And I ran over 100 balls.
You were more mad at the way they were acting.
I didn't like the way the people treated me.
You wanted to prove a point.
They need to be more respectful.
That's
and
right.
The player too.
I agree.
Him too. He was doing some corny things. I like Mika, but he's a poor loser, just like me. We're all poor losers. There's no such thing as a good loser.
So one of my favorite things that I seen you do, and I think it really showed your class, was when Efren made the iconic Z shot.
Yeah.
And
how can you not give the 9 ball? It was a little long too.
But you raised his arm up, and that to me as a competitor showed a lot of class, and I believe a lot of people believe the same.
There could be a comparison too on that. My best match ever. it could be that 94 World Tournament when I played, on the Pro Billiards Tour, when I played Efren live on ESPN. It's the only live match that's ever been on ESPN.
Interesting, 1994.
Yeah.
Okay.
94, live, and I just barbecued him.
And those cameras back
He beat
then.
me the first 2 games, and I was playing really well in practice,
Yeah.
practice room. I was playing great.
Yeah.
So there's no way this guy's going to win. So we go to play. He won the first game, and then he broke and didn't. No, the first game I had a shot. I was running out, and I missed the ball on the side. And I said, I can't believe I missed that ball. So I walked over and flopped down in the chair like I look right now. Like this, flopped. With the cue like that. I said, I can't believe I missed that ball. And then I said to myself, man, don't give up. And I moved up in the edge of the chair like this with the cue. And I looked at the table and I said, don't miss. You're curtains if you miss one ball. And he broke and scratched. 2-0. He broke and ran a rack, and then he had 2-0, and then he broke and scratched. And I beat him 9 in a row so fast, you never see nothing like it. You blink, it was over. I mean, I beat him 9 in a row in like 18 minutes or something. 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes.
You hit a crazy gear.
It was crazy quick. and I was just running around. He got one more shot, he kicked. No, he got a shot, he played safe. And then I kicked the ball in.
You couldn't miss it that point.
That was my night. I was Efren that night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kicked and banked it in.
Yeah.
I remember the shot. I kicked Z sideways. I was on the bottom rail, and I kicked to the side rail and banked the ball on the side. Like I was playing it. You know, it was unreal. And then the ball landed on the end rail. It was the toughest shot you ever seen in your life. I got up and just speared it in. Wham! Just like I was levitating, blowing or something, you know? It was like I was floating and I was unbeatable.
Cloud 9.
For that 25, 30 minutes, it was like nobody was going to get away, you know? And then my worst loss ever was that World Tournament. So I gave up and I battled back. We're tied at 270 apiece. It's a 300-point match, okay? So I forgot to tell the rest of that 100-something ball run. So I got a ball straight in. I look over at Mika. He's over there crying. And I said, really? So I said, man, you want to win that bad? I had a straight in ball. I shot it into the diamond. I said, here, you just shoot.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I gave him a free shot. I gave him the World Tournament. Because everybody's treating me like dirt. I didn't want to be there. I wish I'd have went ahead and beat him. That's what I wish I'd have went ahead and done.
So that's something.
I feel bad about myself that I can go ahead and beat him and not let all them knuckleheads get to me. Mm-hmm. And then I said, well, I'm going to try to beat him. At the end, he had me down again. He missed. I come all the way back, 270. We're tied at 270. And I had a break ball, and I missed it. It was a funny break ball, though. And I missed it, and then he ran the last 30 balls. That's my worst loss ever. But I let it happen. Because I let the people get to me. There shouldn't be people sitting around pulling against you. And pool's too hard a game to have people sitting around trying to disorient you, trying to make you feel unwelcome, trying to make you not play well. There shouldn't be people like that in pool.
Like you mentioned, they'll run you out of golf.
I'm telling you right now, pool has to be like golf. It has to have a demeanor of golf. Mm-hmm. The audience does. Because it's a harder game than golf.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself. Pool's a very hard game. And that's why they don't let hecklers in golf, because it's too hard a game. Mm-hmm. They don't let you single people out. You understand? You can't go to a golf tournament and single someone out and just heckle them and ride them, like they do me in pool. They did that to me my whole career. I'm a pretty tough character actually to win all the tournaments I won being heckled the whole time.
Without putting headphones in either, right?
Well, I'm the first one to start the
Okay,
headphone.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because I got tired of heckling.
Okay.
That happened in Vegas, back in the BC Open, the Billiard Congress of America tournaments. I don't know if you remember those.
Oh yeah.
They were in Vegas, and these people were, I was playing a local guy, and these people were heckling me. Real bad, calling me names. You can't play. You play like a drunk. Just calling me names and cheering the other guy on. So he beat me 11-10. So I said, I'm gonna put an end to this. So I went and bought me one of those Walkmans, you know. You know, you hang it on your belt.
So you're the guy. You're the one.
It was before MP3 players and, you know, the Bluetooth and all that, you know. So I had giant headphones on, hooked up to a Walkman, right? So I came in the next day. That's what I had.
I didn't know that.
So the tournament director sees me with them on, but he can't do nothing because there's no rule against it, right? So I win a match. I win another. It's a TV tournament too. It's ESPN.
And you got a Walkman on.
Yeah. So it's ESPN televised. Now listen to this. Now it's going to, at the end, the semis and the finals are ESPN, right? So now I lost my first match to this local guy because they're heckling me. Now I got this headphones on. No, I can't hear nothing now. I can't hear nobody. Right? I put it on static too. Shh. It ain't music. It's genius, really. If you play with static, you're twice the player you are.
Wow.
You don't know what I know. Static's the best way to play pool. Shh. You know, in between the channel. Shh. So, put on static, can't hear nothing, right? So I win 10, it's a 128 man board. No, it wasn't. It was 64 then, right? So I lost my first match. I got to win, I think, 8 matches to get back to the quarter, to the semis. I win 7 matches in a row, right? Tournament director's like pulling his hair out.
With the Walkman on.
Yeah, he wants to stop me because now the audience can't. I'm playing so good, it's a joke.
You're dialed in.
Yeah. I'm raping and robbing everybody I play, just killing them, right? He sees that now the audience can't affect me. He wants the audience to affect me. That's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So he wants to tell me that I can't wear them, but he knows that there's no rule. Okay? So I get to the match. I'm getting ready to play Jim Rempe to go to the TV. If I win this match, I'm on the television with the Walkman.
Yeah.
So he walks up to me, he says, Earl, if you win this match, are you going to wear those when you play on the television? I said, absolutely. Just for you. You and your hecklers. You and your hecklers that you admire so much, calling me names and sharking me. That's what I'm doing this for, you and them.
It's payback time.
He said, man, please don't wear those. I says, you know what I'm going to do for you? Since you're so miserable, I'm going to lose this match. I'm going to tank it. Just for you. He didn't say a damn word either. He was glad I said that.
Wow.
That's what he wanted. So I tanked to Rempe and let him go.
Wow.
What a bunch of... I don't like... you got to change pool.
Yeah.
And that matchroom bunch all wants a bunch of hecklers. That's what they want.
So you feel like
carnival.
You feel like they promote that.
They promote heckling and hooray. Yeah. I don't promote that. It's got to be like golf. It's got to be hush-hush. Pool's too hard a game to heckle a player or to make noises while they're shooting, you know. Or try to single a guy out and shark him, you know. It's too hard a game to do that. You can't do that in golf. They'll get rid of you. But they don't do it in pool. You know, I went to a tournament with a bodyguard once. I took a tournament, I hired a bodyguard, paid him $500.
Well, you're traveling one now, though, aren't you?
Listen to me.
Yep.
I took a bodyguard to a tournament. What do you think happened? Bet you can never guess.
You won the tournament. They never said a word to you?
No, they disqualified me.
Oh.
Listen, my whole life, me playing pool was all about heckling me. You understand? That's all they wanted. You know why they did that? Because I was too good. Too great a player to not heckle. You couldn't let me play on my own. You didn't have a chance. And I didn't like that. So that was on the Camel Tour. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to keep me from winning the season-ending bonus, which was $60,000 bonus at the end of the year. And that's why. And then when I went to play, they disqualified me at my match. Because a guy, just soon as someone started bothering me at the match, just soon as someone started, I told him, I said, go over and tell that guy, if he keeps making those noises and bothering me, that you're going to rip his head off and poop down his neck. Because he was a big, strong guy.
Yeah.
And he walked over and told him, and then that's when they disqualified me. They wouldn't let me have security.
So it worked having that guy with you.
Yeah, but I got disqualified.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
They weren't going to let me have peace of mind. Period. And I'm disturbed over that. And I'll never forget it. I think I could have been even a greater player if you would have celebrated that instead of heckled me. Yeah.
I appreciate you for sharing that, Earl.
Yeah.
Thank you. The last thing that I would like to just touch on, and I want you to know that I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing for pool, and I appreciate what you've given all of us. All the incredible wins, all the incredible matches, the videos that we can go back and watch, the patterns, the genius coming out on the table. I want you to know that we really appreciate you. And thank you for that.
Yeah, pool's a great game, and like I said before, you got to make it where you're playing against the table, not the player. I think all the heckling will go away then too.
You're giving back right now, though, and I wanted to close out with a way that you're giving back because you've chosen to travel around the country, and there's people that that have developed, I can't even say comparable skill to yours, but people in other sports, they choose to keep knowledge in, but you're traveling around right now and you're giving back.
Well, Dennis Hatch and I are traveling around doing exhibitions, and I've become a pretty good exhibition player.
Mm-hmm.
I traveled with Mike Massey for years. I owe a lot of credit to Mike Massey. He's the greatest trick shot player I've ever seen, and he had one of the most powerful strokes, maybe the most powerful stroke at one time. He's getting on up there. He's 78 years old now.
Yeah.
He ain't quite the player he once was, and I still respect him so much. I learned so much from him. If I hadn't have traveled with Mike and picked his brain, and learned how to do trick shots and spin shots and learn how to stroke the ball better, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be able to make a living because I can't make a living on tour. They got too many damn tricks. Damn magic racks and jump sticks, and they need to go back to the one on the spot, race to 11. If you scratch on the break, you shoot from behind the head string. If you make balls on the break, they spot up in a line. You got to play safe. Then you go back to old rules. These rules suck. You can get beat by anybody. A guy that's been playing 2 or 3 years can beat a veteran player.
Yeah.
That don't add up with me. You gotta pay more dues than that to be a great player. And like I said before, if I hadn't learned a lot about the stroke shots, and of course a lot of it's my own training too, tinkering, and I've created all these stroke shots now that some people haven't seen them.
Are you showing a lot of those in your clinics?
Yeah,
as well?
Dennis is learning them too. I tell you what, Dennis has more ability than he knew he had, I think. I'm bringing out stuff in him that he didn't know he had.
People say that he's by far one of the most talented players that they've ever seen, period.
I'll tell you, he's a straight shooter. He's a very good ball pocketer, and he's got a lot of power. He's got more power than me.
Super stroke. We've seen that, right?
He has more power than me. He's his stature, you know, he's a big guy. He's 6'3".
Well, that's why I was saying earlier that when you mentioned that you were traveling with a bodyguard, I said you're traveling with one now, right?
Yeah.
He's your road partner, but
We're all too broken up to be fighting anymore. But anyway,
yeah.
Dennis has come a long ways.
Yeah.
We just created a new shot, the double whipple.
The double whipple that we were privileged.
We did it right here for the first time.
Right here at Crossroad Cues.
So I don't know, in exhibition, we're going to take a few swings at it for sure, but we can't stay there all day if we can't make it. But it's doable.
Yeah.
But I want to thank Dennis for putting up with me. I'm not the best guy in the world at all times, you know.
Well, I know one thing for the short time that I've had the privilege of knowing Dennis. I know Dennis loves you, and I know that he loves to travel with you, and I know that Dennis has the greatest respect for you. When we were on the phone last night talking, you were in the car, and he thinks you're the greatest player to ever play the game.
No, I'm not the greatest player, but I was one of the greatest shooters.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming here again.
You're welcome, Eddie.
I am excited because you're going to be doing a clinic right now at our headquarters here at Crossroad Cues. Would you let the followers know how they can get in touch with you or get in touch with Dennis if they would like to book an event with you guys?
Just go through Dennis. He's pretty much our agent.
Okay.
And, he's good at doing it. And I'm the guy with the knowledge. And he's gonna seek my knowledge eventually. One day he might be able to do this on his own, but it still takes a lot of practice. And I mean, all of the trick shots, it just takes forever to learn how to, you know, make them. And if you miss one, you gotta know how to fix it, you know.
Hey, when that whipple shot, the double whipple, we're gonna do some editing, you know, because it took quite a few tries, right?
Yeah.
But the last thing that I want to say to you is I seen the resilience. I seen the I don't give up. I seen it in you. I seen it in Dennis, because you guys were right here, and you guys were like, we're gonna make this shot. We're gonna create history. We're gonna do it right
one
here.
shot from giving up. And we did it. I said, Dennis, I was like 2 shots from giving up.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said before, pool is a great game.
Amen.
But we have to put it in a proper perspective.
Yeah.
We have to stop the animosity. We got to get where we're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. We have to get where there's more camaraderie between the players.
Yeah.
And have more respect for each other.
Yeah. There's
only one way to do that. You have to change the game to where we're playing against the table. That's it.
You heard it. You heard it right here,
Thank
guys.
you.
You heard it. He said you got to change the game where you're playing against the table.
Yes.
Mr. Earl, thank you.
You're welcome, Eddie.
Thank you. Thank you not only just for what you gave here today. I know I said it earlier, but I mean it from my heart. You are someone that I really, really, really have always looked up to, and I never get tired of watching the videos. This has been surreal for me. This is like sitting with a childhood hero, and I want to thank you for what you've done for pool.
I'm still a beauty.
God bless you, Earl.